Hello and welcome to Super Lady Hero Hour here on Fanversation. I am Yael Tygiel. I am joined as always by Kay-B. Hello, Kay-B.
Hello. Thanks you guys for joining us. What a day. Content. Yeah. Let's just dive in.
Let's dive into the headlines because we've got some.
Yes, some.
Let's start. This one I think is very exciting news to me. Superman and Lois has been renewed for a second season. It was renewed before the second episode aired. I think that's a big deal. What do you think?
Really, I wasn't surprised. I mean, honestly, I feel like the CW in the CW verse will at least give you, a second season to figure out what you're going to do. So I wasn't surprised. I didn't think it was ever in danger of not getting renewed. And, a few weeks back, they actually expanded the first season order. So we're going to get more episodes this season anyway, which let's just keep everything at 15 or less. But that will no longer be the case for Superman and Lois. They are going above that beautiful number of 15. And so I was never surprised. I mean, I think, it works for the network. I actually don't know how it did numbers wise, but I assume it did just fine.
I agree that it's not a surprise that it was renewed. I think the timing was the surprise for me. It aired an episode and then they renewed it. So I think that was the surprise. But you're right. CW is not known for canceling. There's the CW verse shows. And it wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a bad premiere. So they're getting a second season. So if you're worried about jump on. You have at least 2 seasons.
I mean, welcome the Kent family into your homes for at least 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other news over on Thor: Love and Thunder. I know that previously we talked about the rumors that Matt Damon was going to be in it. And it seems that is not only confirmed, I literally saw photos. He is reprising his role, I guess, as fake Loki. And Melissa McCarthy will be joining them as fake Hela.
Yes, and Luke Hemsworth as fake Thor. So here we are. I have no idea where this is going. Honestly, Taika has the wildest and most brilliant mind, so I don't even care where it's going. I'm still going to watch it because, again, Thor started off as being my least favorite film in the MCU, and then Ragnarok happened, and I was fully invested in this new version of Thor. And Taika 100% was the right director, still the right director for Love and Thunder. Honestly, can't wait for it to come out. So I'm like, yes, please give us Melissa and Luke and, bring back Matt for this. Who just whatever. I mean, honestly, it's like, I'm all in. I don't care what you tell me their roles are. I am like, I'm in because Taika is doing it again, quite frankly. So here we are.
I agree. It was a really fun cameo the first time. I'm excited to see it the second time. I hope that it's as cute and enjoyable. And other Melissa McCarthy news, I know this isn't on our list, but it's a superhero movie. I'm talking about it. Thunder Force is coming out on April 9th over on Netflix. And I personally am so excited. It put me in the best mood today. Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer, and they will be playing superheroes or people with powers. Check that out. There is I will add a link below because that trailer is amazing and it's over on Fanversation right now.
Yeah, I'm loving it. They're best friends. They're superheroes. They're also, just BA in general. So I am excited to see this. It definitely made my heart smile as well. And cannot wait to see this. And is it March or April that it comes out?
April 9th.
Okay. Yes. So cannot wait to see this on April 9th. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And lastly, just a bit of news that's been in circulation. T.I. is not returning for Ant-Man 3. I forgot he was in the first 2, to be honest. until someone said he's not returning for the third one. I was like, oh, right. Mostly forgot because Michael Pena steals everything in the Ant-Man series. So like, honestly. And then, of course, Paul Rudd and his ridiculousness is the perfect Ant-Man. So, yeah, that's it for headlines, unless you have something else.
Nope, that was it. You covered it.
Perfect. All right. So let's dive in. First off, guys, here is your warning that we will be spoiling all of it. All of it. Every last bit of it. Please do not watch this quite yet if you have not seen any of these shows. If you have, stick with us. If you haven't, come back after you've watched. Unless you're like me, I actually adore spoilers. They do not deter me from watching the content. So I would still watch and watch it again. So here we are.
Wow.
I know I love spoilers. Okay, so we are starting with the premiere of season 7 of The Flash, which, as a reminder, really is like part of the final episodes of season 6. But we all know what happened in the Panini. And so here we are. So here's the quick cap for All's Wells That Ends Wells. When an experiment to save Barry's speed backfires, Nash Wells searches for a way to save the Flash and comes up with a dangerous plan. Meanwhile, Iris makes a startling realization inside the Mirrorverse. I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't really know what that startling realization was. I'll be quite honest with you. The Mirrorverse is not my favorite. And I love The Flash. I adore it. Y'all knows this is like probably my favorite show in the CW verse. And not probably, definitely is. And yet I still am like, what? Like every time we're in this Mirrorverse, whatever this girl Eva's plan is, I'm like, what? And I'm not invested. So I am looking forward to ending these episodes and diving into the real season 7 so I can see what we have in store. How did you feel about this premiere overall?
Honestly, I spent most of it going, what? Who? Why? Where are we? What's happening? Because I didn't remember any of this stuff. That said, yeah, we got to wrap up last season. Let's get to it. And it felt like we dragged on this episode, which is weird because we need to wrap up last season. I agree with you, the Iris stuff. When you read the quick cap, I was like, makes a startling realization. Is it?
No idea what that is.
Here's what she realized was that she, by sitting down to like type an email, she was close to something, possibly communicating with the outside world, possibly an exit. She got close. It's like playing hot and cold and someone said warmer. That's it. There was no
I mean,
answer.
I don't know. I saw the screen move and I was like, okay. Right. I almost wish what would happen though. Like, I actually hope they do this. I hope they go back, and because The Flash is still kind of one of those original series that is also streaming on Netflix when they had that deal. I hope they go back and I hope they add these 3 episodes to season 6. And I hope they do that, because otherwise you're kind of looking, and this is my own fault. I should have rewatched like the last couple of episodes of season 6 before this so I could kind of understand again. But I came into this and I was just like, dang, why do we care about Eva again? Like, what's her grand plan? Like, do we want her dead? What? Like, who? I just kept thinking to myself, man, I don't know why we care about this. Like, and so, while the performances are still great, I still was just like, man, what are we talking about here? I mean, it really felt like I fell asleep in class and then I woke up to a pop quiz and I was like, well, I'm definitely going to fail this because I have no idea what's going to happen here.
I agree. So. I think Eva, if I understood correctly, she had a startling realization.
Yes, that was startling for me. I don't know what Iris is startling. I mean, Eva finding out that she's actually dead and is truly the imposter. That's startling.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Iris is on her computer and
she's getting warmer. Literally, I think that's like she was close to a startling realization.
Maybe Iris's startling realization is that she knows that Eva's dead. Maybe she knows, maybe she figured out that she's the imposter. I'm just, I'm grasping, but maybe.
I love it.
But I would say probably the biggest reveal out of this episode is Nash Wells is no more. I was kind of concerned because I was like, did he turn into pixie dust? That just like a pile of pixie dust.
No, I think that was Ash. I think Nash turned into Ash.
Oh.
But yeah, the Wells thing. Look, I love somebody doing impressions of somebody else. So watching Barry go through the Wellses was so fun. Honestly, I wanted more of that, less of the Mirrorverse. And I would have been okay with that. But then losing Wells in this way, had this been last season still, then I probably would have been like, yes, this is how we wrap up Nash, and next season we get a new Wells. But because it is the beginning of the season and it feels like we're losing all of the Wellses, is Tom Cavanaugh not returning to the show?
Yeah, so that I don't know, but I feel like he's not. Like, I said that last night during our live tweet, like, I don't think that he's coming back. It doesn't feel that way, because normally it would have been like, oh, Nash said goodbye. But because all of the Wells said goodbye to Barry, I was like, oh, this kind of feels final. Maybe he's just moved on to other creative projects. I mean, obviously, like, everyone on that set loves Tom. I love Tom. Like, he's just such a nice person. And he does a great job of portraying the Wells. But, like, also every season I'm like, what is the point of, the Wells, like, to be quite honest. So, like, I get it. And we have Chester now, and, a handful of new team members, which also still baffles me, because I'm like, I still want Cisco, and where's everyone? The team is getting larger, but yeah, we are still, kind of having to isolate and only see, like, 4 of them at a time. So it's real interesting. But I don't know. I didn't follow up on that today. I meant to, kind of follow up and see if anyone had any interview pieces with Tom to see if this was the end or not. But I guess we'll find out, if he's just not in the true season 7 premiere.
Right.
Will happen in a few weeks. But I don't know. I mean, it will be a sad loss, but I would totally understand. And I do agree to your point. Grant actually seemed like he was having a blast being able to play the Nashes. And so that was really good to see, because I also think just for him as an actor, it's really nice when we can see his range on this show, because Grant is a really good actor and a really good performer. And so it's nice to see him be silly, in that way, for sure.
Yeah. The only other big reveal was that the Flash got his speed back. Not a shocker.
That cryo chamber that he was in was really dope. And like the way his cowl, I was like, oh, I like these things. But yeah, we knew he was going to get speed back. I mean, if he didn't, then like.
Right. What's the show?
Right.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we rate this episode?
No, let's rate it.
All right. Here at Super Lady Hero Hour, we like to rate things on a scale from poop to kittens, or a spoon in between. What did you think of the Flash premiere? Poop, kitten, spoon?
I'm going to go with the spoon. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't terrible. I just am not invested in the Mirrorverse, but there were other elements that I was interested in. I do actually, though, I do like that, because when they were calling it the Mirrorverse, I was like, why? But then they added in like the Scudder being kind of the first person that Eva created, and kind of making it a more Mirrorverse and putting their storylines together with Scudder, Top, and Eva. So I was like, oh, so you're trying to actually create a Mirrorverse. Got it. So that part I was like, oh, I get that. I still have last season, but here we are.
I agree. I don't know if I'm frozen or if you're frozen. Someone's frozen, but I'm going to also hello internet.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I will also
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it was a spoon, but it was real close to being a poop this episode. Because I don't care. There are things I didn't care about. There was too much there was more things I didn't care about than things I cared about. And that's not a good thing. Yeah, I'm still invested in the show, and I will still watch another episode next week.
I just can't wait until we get to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that's the anticipation there is killing me.
Any predictions for the season?
For the season, Iris will get out. Yay. That's my first prediction. That is also, you know, very obvious.
Right.
Honestly, predictions for the season, I think Cisco will leave at the end of this season. I do think so. To be quite honest, if I'm being honest, I think next season will be the last season for the show altogether. But I definitely think Cisco will probably leave this season. And, you know, I think that Barry and Iris will start to contemplate having a family. I think we're going to probably head in that direction. And, you know, more threats, more big bads. Hopefully we can get a woman villain big bad, because, you know, that would be nice. That's not Eva, because I still don't consider her a big bad. I don't know why, but I don't know. I don't consider her a big bad. I'm thinking more of like a super villain, like someone with, I don't know, with different powers and an agenda that's clear. Like, I feel like Eva's a step in the direction, but it just is not like, I don't know why it's just not hitting for me.
No, I totally agree. Because the big bads have felt like they are attacking the team. Whereas Eva feels like she is doing bad to the city, and like she's not after Team Flash, whereas all the other big bads I feel like are after Team Flash.
She's really after her company. Like, that's what it sounds like. Like, she wants revenge. She wanted her husband or ex-husband or widow. I mean, I don't know, because she just found out she was dead. So she wanted him. I guess he was a widow and now he is actually dead. But she wanted, everything was like centered around him and this company. It was like less about other things, which maybe that's why I'm not interested as much as I would normally be. I don't know. What about you? What are your predictions for the season?
I also predict that Iris gets out. I think here's the thing about them starting a family. Our previous issue was that Barry was supposed to disappear or die. Like, something was supposed to happen. He was supposed to be gone. And before that, we met their future child. If they then knew, I have a deadline, I'm expiring, why are we not trying to produce the future child? So the fact that they haven't yet is really upsetting to me.
Guys, you should be actively trying to get pregnant.
Because you know that you're going to have Nora, and you up until recently knew you were going to die. Like, it didn't make sense to me that they did not work towards. Anyway. So I think maybe she'll come out of the Mirrorverse and they'll be like, oh, wait, remember that time we were trying to make Nora? Let's do that.
I mean, also, though, something that is wildly just unrealistic in general is that, like, this show has, like, and I don't mean sex. I mean, like, there's just a lack of intimacy in general. And I know that that's like a huge point of contention for people on this show, like, because it's just not very realistic to not have any form of intimacy. And so it's just, maybe we'll get more of that this season. I don't know. I mean, like, even literally just holding hands is fine. Like, I mean, you know, like, just kissing on screen, but we probably will not because COVID. So I don't know, but you know.
But I mean, we did get a romantic date in the Mirrorverse. That wasn't real.
Right, which was so weird. I was like, wait, what is happening with this date?
Well, speaking of couples, let's switch over to Superman and Lois. Here's the quick cap for the second episode, Heritage. When adjusting to their new lives in Smallville, Lois and Clark make an important decision concerning one of their sons. Tensions begin to rise between Lois and Morgan Edge. Lana Lang Cushing invites the Kent family over for a barbecue. Yeah.
How did you feel about it overall, episode 2?
Overall, episode 2, I liked it. I'm still there. I personally think the teen drama we're veering too much into teen drama for me. But I do love Lois having something to do. I love that. I love that she is reporter Lois. She is not going to let anyone stand in her way, and she's going to fight for this. And Clark dealing with like, I don't know how to be a dad. They're already teenagers. Where have you been?
He's been saving the world apparently, and definitely not at home helping to raise these kids, and definitely feeling the impact of that for sure.
Yeah. What did you think?
I'm still invested. To me, it's still, I mean, I don't know. I am not opposed to having the teen drama. So for me, I felt like it was a nice balance of let's figure out what Clark is going to do now that he is essentially a stay-at-home dad superhero, because Lois is the one working and she has a job and Clark does not. And he's trying to figure out how to navigate that. Plus he has this, kind of Luthor threat hanging on. And so I mean, for me, I think the part that's most infuriating right now is how these kids are behaving. I mean, I think that's the most upsetting for me currently, where I'm like, now y'all. So yes, that's probably my biggest issue. I'm still invested to see where we go in episode 3. I will say, now that I think about it, I have no idea where the show's gonna go. Now that I actually am sitting with it, I'm like, I was entertained, but like, what are we doing this season?
Yeah. How long are we dragging out this Luthor thing? Because in this episode, we revealed, like, you and I have put together that clearly he's from a different Earth.
Yeah.
Superman himself has decided he's from a different planet. Did not pick up on the fact that he's from a different Earth, and that's all he knows. And I don't know how long I'm willing to let this like mysterious Captain Luthor stay a secret and a mystery. I don't care for it.
I don't know how long it could sustain over whatever their new episode order is. I don't know what that is. I think it might be 17 or 18. I don't know. But I don't know how long it could sustain long term. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need some smaller threats. If we are to make Captain Luthor the big bad, we're also going to maybe tie in that familial element that I think we both know is coming with him being related to that student at the school. Like, we're going to need something. We did find out that, he and Lois's father, General Lane, fought together on a different Earth. So we know that piece. How will that impact how General Lane sees or interacts with this Clark? We got to see something that was super exciting was the black Superman suit. So we got to see that this episode. Where is other Clark? How will this, or other Kal-El rather, which, I mean, he probably still goes by Clark, who knows? But like, how will all of this tie in? I guess I just don't know. Like, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree. Is it Earth X? Like, that's I feel like the black suit reminded me of the Earth X storyline, which I guess could be interesting. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it was most interesting to me how Kal-El's, hologram father was like, Jordan don't have powers. And
yeah.
It was also very rude, but also like, okay, sir. And so, the fact that Clark's getting very upset, like, what do you mean he doesn't have powers? Don't tell him that. Don't tell us that. But it's so funny because he was just like, listen, I ran all the tests. That kid does not have any powers. And it's like, well, that's interesting because we definitely saw him with the ocular,
right.
Like, we definitely saw him. So, I mean, what does that mean? Please tell us.
It goes to my prediction that both the boys are going to have powers. It's going to be harder for them to control it and figure out how to use it and blah, blah, blah. But I still think both of them will end up with powers. And not to get ahead of us into predictions, but I still think that's where we're headed. Also just a minor note of the like Fortress of Solitude. We're on the same Earth as Supergirl now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's not it. That's not the fortress.
I mean, it's his fortress. I don't know what to tell you.
It really
It's Clark's fortress, apparently. Like,
it feels like they have forgotten this show has started without any context to the rest of the CW verse. And that is an issue when it was influenced by, and like it seems like the villain is influenced by the Crisis. So like,
but actually, are we on the same earth with the show? Because they actually have not said. So here's the thing. Remember, at the end of Crisis, Superman left, actually before the end of Crisis, really, he just kind of like left on his own to go with Lois. And they went, I'm pretty sure they went to a different Earth. I don't necessarily think they stayed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that they might be, because they have not explicitly said that this particular show, like they said the other ones were based on that, but I don't know necessarily that we are on the same Earth. And maybe that's what they're trying to say by having Captain Luthor come in. Like,
maybe that's possible. I just recall, and I'm leaving it to our audience and our chat to correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall at the end of the Crisis, all of our superheroes are on Earth Prime, I believe. Yeah. I think they're all on.
That was before. Remember, Superman definitely left the Earth. Like, I'm almost positive after that he definitely left the Earth with Lois. So, and that was before technically he was our superhero. You know, like he was just coming to hang out and help, and then was like, "Okay, bye, y'all. Like, we're gonna go be free." And
I guess I need to rewatch. We need to rewatch the Crisis.
So I wonder if our assumption is wrong that we're on the same Earth. But either way, it could be right. You know, you could be right. We could be on the same Earth, and they have just chosen to make this fortress of solitude a little bit different.
Yeah.
And this one is, you know, Clark. Maybe this is 2.0. I don't know.
Maybe.
I think that they're going to have to start explaining some things though here pretty soon. I mean, mostly because it is confusing with, like, they introduced Captain Luthor being from a different Earth, but not in a way that was palatable, if that makes sense. And so it's just kind of like the idea is thrown at you, but we have not ironed out pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It feels almost like they're trying to confuse their audience or to throw them off what seems clear. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. The other big thing that happened was Lois got a new job because she left this Morgan Edge situation.
And let's be clear, she was going to get fired either way. So, I mean, after she confronted Morgan Edge at, you know, the town hall meeting, where her sons were wildly embarrassed because they were like, you know, she tells them, you sit still, we're just listening, you know, we're not going to say anything. And then she gets there and literally blows it up. And they're looking at her like, girl, I thought you said that we were coming here to listen because we're new to town. We're new to Smallville, in the sense of, you know, being residents. And here you go, mom. Like, I mean, they were both looking at her like, okay, here we are. So she knew, based on her interaction with Morgan Edge, who is a shady businessman. What is he going to do next? We don't know. But I mean, she was definitely going to get fired either way. So definitely, you know, resigning was the right move. And, you know, now she can work for, what's it called? Is it the Smallville Gazette?
Something like that.
Now she can be a hometown journalist, because I don't know. So,
but just to be clear, she got hired by the girl who is the reporter and the publisher, or the
and the editor and the janitor and the publisher.
Ma'am, there's no money. You're not getting paid. So you moved to the small town to live on a farm you cannot afford. Told your husband to leave his job. Then you quit your job. Yeah, no.
Clark's gonna have to start robbing banks, period. I mean, that's our only option. Like, what are our other options here? Because you're knee deep in debt because of that, you know, extra loan that your mom took out on the farm to help other people. And it's like, Clark, can you do manual labor? Because I mean, someone here needs money. Like, someone, because that woman for sure is doing all of this for free and, you know, on her own time. And quite frankly, I don't know how she can afford to live in Smallville and run this newspaper for no money. Because who's buying this newspaper? Because apparently the citizens also have no money, because Morgan Edge has created, nothing really in terms of, making their economy boom again. So, I mean, I don't know, money's not a thing that matters in the CW verse, because technically Barry Allen is wealthy. And yet what does he do?
It's a good point, especially because we've pointed out a few times that Iris doesn't even go to work anymore. So or didn't before.
I mean, before. Now,
she owns her own.
Now
she owns her own, but there was like a chunk of time before when she was writing her own blog, got hired, stopped going to work, now runs her own thing.
Now, I will say Barry clearly has a job. I mean, he actually works for the Central City. He is a CSI, so he actually does have a job with benefits. But I just know that CSI salary could not afford that apartment. Like, I mean, honestly, Barry, when he just showed up with that apartment and was like, Iris, this is our house now. I was like, now who paid for this? Honestly.
Joe paid for it.
Lord, probably.
All right, let's rate this episode.
The thing is you don't need money in Smallville, so they'll be fine.
Sorry, the Kent family doesn't need money in Smallville. Everyone else does.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair.
All right, let's rate this episode. Where do you put it?
It's a spoon for me. I mean, it wasn't like a terrible episode, and it wasn't a great one. It was just regular. Like, again, it's just now occurring to me that I'm like, I have no idea where this is going. And also, what earth are we on? And also, what does this mean for Captain Luther? And also, but I did like some things. I mean, I did like Lois having her own agency. I hope we keep this up. I actually do like that at the end, the twins are like, let's revolt against these parents and do our own thing and figure it out. Yay. I want to see more of that, because it's weird how their parents don't expect them to do that, but they're teenagers and one has powers. Like, why wouldn't they just go off on their own and try to figure it out? I mean, like, that seems logical to me, because they're curious and they want to know. And it's so odd to me that parents never consider that their kids want to know things, but that's literally the point of being a human. Yeah. I don't understand. I'm like, so you just had this kid and you expected them to never be curious and want to know things. It's wild, because that's literally the purpose. But sure. So so I like some things, and and other times I just had a question mark. But I still think it's beautifully shot. Wild to me that Blake is not doing the music for the show, because he does the music for like all the shows. So shout out to whoever's doing the music for this one, though, because I still like it. So yeah, what about you? How are you going to rate it?
I'm also going to give it a spoon, but this one leaning more towards kitten. I enjoyed it, but I'm with you. Like, where are we going and what's the point? So I'm enjoying myself, but I'm hesitant, which is why it's a spoon.
Yay! Let's keep enjoying ourselves and keep watching.
Yeah. Predictions
for the next episode. The boys will get in trouble. Some sort of threat will happen specifically to them on their quest of finding out the truth, since their parents have lied to them for, all of their lives, except for, the last 2 days. So I am curious to see where that goes. What about you? What do you predict is going to happen?
I stand by my prediction that both twins have powers, and I'm predicting that Morgan Edge and Captain Luther will connect or team up or help each other. And enemy of enemy is my friend. So that's where I think that's headed.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just have to see next week. So let's talk about WandaVision next. Here is the quick cap for the 8th episode, titled Previously On. Wanda embarks on a troubling journey, revisiting her past for insight into her present and future. So this episode of WandaVision, one of my least favorites, not gonna lie.
Oh, wow.
I think here's a couple of things. I think for it to be a recap episode, it was brilliant. And the way that it was done, I thought, oh my gosh, top notch. But there wasn't enough of why is Agatha here for me. There was a lot of, here's Agatha, she's behind it. Okay, why? Like, we understand, and I want to say it was the Salem witch trials. I can't remember, so I'm just going to call them the witch trials. It was the witch trials. We see how she gets her powers. We see how she is basically the alpha witch, which even she, can't really actually hide. And then what happens? here she is torturing Wanda and forcing her to, you know, kind of deal with this trauma. So there was like a little bit of a disconnect for me in terms of like, okay, girl, but why? Like, why are you forcing Wanda to deal with this trauma? I think that Elizabeth Olsen did a fantastic job of navigating Wanda's trauma again. So it's really hard because I feel like she's literally like Wanda at this point is like a punching bag of grief, if that makes sense. Like we're constantly just going down this rabbit hole of grief with Wanda. And I think Elizabeth is pulling it off brilliantly. But yeah, I mean, I got to the end of this episode and I was like, damn, this doesn't really fit. Like in the grand scheme of what we've seen thus far, it's very like, here's this episode. And I was like, cool, but why? What does this mean? Like for it to be the penultimate episode, I was like, I still have 400 questions and the finale is next week. It didn't answer not one thing for me. I was like, cool, trauma, cool. Like, okay, it started when you were young. We get it. We see this. We see how you've navigated this. But I walked away like, and so what's going to happen next week? I don't know. And also, where's Dottie? And also, like, what, like, and also, where's the fam? Like, I want my trio back. You know, like, where are they? I just was like, oh, okay. It was an interesting time to have a standalone episode, in my opinion. And I also didn't realize that this was the first time we've ever called her Scarlet Witch. I thought we had already called her that. But apparently this is the first time in all of the MCU that we have called her Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was a weird place to put it. It was incredibly done.
If this would have been like episode 6, like 5 or 6, I would have been like, oh, okay.
Right. If I kind of, it feels odd knowing that we only have one left. I think that's the challenge, is that we only have one left. I will say, to your Scarlet Witch point, I think that is interesting. It sounds, and maybe I'm projecting, but it seems like this title is like either like a prophecy or like something, an entity that has been spoken of that we didn't necessarily know about. And it kind of reminds me of the way the last episode ended, where it was Agatha all along. But to anyone who's not reading anything or watching TikToks or paying attention on the internet, you're going, who, what? Like, that's not helpful. And I think that's where we are at the end of this one again, is like, oh, you're the Scarlet Witch. Oh, you're the chosen one. Oh, you're the stone. You're the whatever. You're the villain. You're the power. Whatever you are, I don't know. But it's interesting. I do appreciate the reveals and explanations of Vision. I do like this. I like that we understand now how we got Vision. And what's going on with his body. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I still have questions. I'm with you.
My concern is that we will get to this week's finale, which is 2 days away now, and I will still know nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that like my biggest concern is I will watch the finale and I will think overall they did really well on that show. But what does any of this mean for phase 4? What does any of this mean for, like, I just think that I will not even remotely be satisfied, but that they will do some cool things. So, and I think that I just have to be okay in that space. Like, I think that like, I'm learning to just be like, okay. I'm also thinking more and more just kind of based on the press that they're doing for Falcon and Winter Soldier, that they're going to tie in probably not a lot. Like I'm thinking that like Falcon and Wanda will basically serve as two entities. Like I don't think they're going to tie in the way I was hoping they would, as much as I hope that they would. Like there may be some reference, but I don't think this is like thrilled about what happens. I think that this might just be like, we'll have a couple of nuggets, but really overall, no.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel like so much of the internet is positive that this leads directly to a film. And I
To a film, yes, but not to Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that's what I'm saying.
Correct. Yeah, no, I agree. Yes.
You think it's going to tie into Spider-Man and Doctor Strange?
I think that's what everyone's saying. I I think it has to tie into something. I don't know how much it will. Yeah, I don't know. Look at this. We have one episode left, and we don't know anything.
But it's so far away, and I think my concern is it's like cool if it's going to tie into Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, but those two are literally so far away, and we have so much coming out in between the two that like, then why did we start with WandaVision? Like, it goes back to my original question, because WandaVision was not supposed to be the first thing that we were supposed to kick off with. Now it's like we're kind of seeing the impacts of that, because then it's just like, well, we're waiting for nothing, and we're seeing other Marvel content, but it's not gonna chronologically work, I think, in my mind, the way it was originally supposed to. So now it's like, well,
yeah, it makes me wonder if, because as you say, it wasn't supposed to be this way, if they decided to just disconnect it and they were like, this is a thing we're doing, and this is a thing we're doing, and this is a thing we're doing. And
you could be right.
If that is what they do, if they disconnect it, if Falcon Winter Soldier is just its own miniseries, is that still enjoyable?
It's going to be a social experiment that we found out about in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It comes out soon. So, I mean, I guess we're going to find out if it's enjoyable then. But for me, I'm just like, because then it's one of those things where it's like, when everything is done with phase 4, then we'll want to go back and watch it chronologically, if that makes sense. Like, then we're going to want to be like, okay, so I can start with this and do that. And I'm like, oh, can you guys just do it for us?
All right. Well, I have a feeling I know where you're rating this episode, but where do you rate this episode?
So actually, I am going to rate it a spoon. So I mean, really, I guess that's how I feel about everything. It was not poop for me, because I do think it was brilliant the way they layered in, like, previously on is like the perfect title for this, and making it a recap episode that like went through the major kind of moments in her life. I like that we find out why she goes to Westview, because the whole time I was like, why is she in Westview, New Jersey? Like, what does this mean? But going back, because this is what Vision had planned, and the property and the land that he had purchased for them to grow old together, and just seeing her grief. I also actually like this episode because I was right. And Wanda is not the Vision. She's not the villain yet. Like, it literally is just her sorrow. And she did not take his body. Also right about that. She did not take his body. She's just sad. Like, I mean, and because she's had so much and she hasn't dealt with it, like, it's literally trauma after trauma that she doesn't deal with, and she doesn't talk about, and she doesn't share.
Right.
So, and then she just breaks down, and it's not even technically her fault, because she doesn't even know that she's capable of creating life. She has no idea that she's capable of that. It just happens out of her grief. So I didn't hate it, but I'm still like, my need to know outweighs those as positives, in the sense that, like, I am really, really worried about this episode, and if they're going to be able to pull it off. I don't think they are, because if they're still going to give us this 30 minutes, I just think that there's no way that is going to have a satisfying ending. And I think there's going to be like more than one cliffhanger. So what about you? How did you feel about this overall?
I'm going to give it a kitten. Honestly, I still enjoyed it. Yes, I have lots of questions. And yes, I'm worried about the fact that we're headed into a finale with pretty much nothing explained. That's not true. We know why they're there. We know that she did it, and we know what the deal is with Vision. So yes, some answers, which is nice. It was really incredibly done. And yeah, I still enjoyed it. Honestly, so far, even the episodes that weren't my favorite, this show I enjoyed, and I think that I will really love watching it from like top to bottom when it's over, and I'm very excited to go back and do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, predictions?
I don't know. I
can't have a single prediction, honestly. Honestly, they could say this is all a dream. And I will be like, cool.
I'd believe it. All right, moving on to Black Lightning then. The quick cap for the fourth episode, The Book of Reconstruction, Chapter 4, A Light in the Darkness. Jefferson pays Tobias a visit and warns him to stay away from his family. Okay.
Listen, I just have to laugh because the way you read it was like, is that it?
I thought there was more. All right.
Well, there's that. So here we are.
What did you think of Black Lightning this week?
Last 5 minutes were crazy.
Every episode does that to me.
Last 5 minutes were crazy.
I'm like, yeah. I don't care anymore. Why am I still watching this? And then something happens.
Actually, no, I liked this episode through and through. I liked finally that Jefferson and Lynn were able to have an honest conversation. Like, finally, Jefferson was able to own his piece and apologize. I like that. Not only to Lynn, but also to Jennifer. And to actually finally be able to talk about his grief and his best friend dying and what that's done to him internally and why he's now back on the streets and sloppy about it. You know, like, and just taking all of this, just doing the most ludicrous and ridiculous things. So I actually am 100% like, yes, finally, we're getting that. Lynn actually finally apologized. They finally talked about Tobias. Thank God, because I was like, do you really think Lynn wants Tobias?
Right.
What?
We talked about this last week. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Like, what? Also, have you seen yourself, Scooter? As I like to call him from Living Single. I would never also, you know, like, I mean that respectfully because I know his family and they're lovely people. But if you know, it's just, but it's still like, have you seen yourself? Like, Lynn is all in. So, I mean, just the fact that we did that. Now we have a plan. The plan is still not to kill Tobias, which irritates me. But the plan at least is to infiltrate, you know, from the inside out. So, okay, I can get on board with that. And I just like that Gamby's getting a little bit of romance. And I also like that, you know, Anissa and Grace are finally, you know, trying to figure out what their partnership will look like in the streets and at home. So yeah, I mean, this episode, you know, we'll get to it. We'll get to the ending, but I'm just going to say that for now. How did you feel overall?
Okay. I felt okay. I think Lynn's undercover situation is the same thing as Gamby's undercover situation. But also Gamby pointed out, like, obviously she's not sleeping with Tobias. What are you, crazy? But it's funny when you brought up earlier, we were talking about the Flash and how they don't have intimacy. This episode, literally Gamby got some. Like, I am just shocked.
Listen, I appreciate a show that shows just real life. Like, these people are not walking around just, you know, never having sex or being intimate with their partners in any capacity. That is wild and ridiculous. And so, you know, it's like, you are not, and first off, this woman is not even Gamby's partner. Like, they're literally just dating. So also I appreciate that too, because you're just showing that they're like getting to know each other and he's still like this. So I appreciate it. You know, I feel like, thank you, you know, so one of these shows will finally give us the intimacy that we desire.
Yeah. I really enjoyed, the movement on Thunder Grace. I was very confused about the like first interaction of Grace at home and Anissa being like, my apartment. I was like, we're like, let's get married.
Forced her to get married at the hospital though, like legitimately.
Yeah. And then her being like, my bad. What you did this. But I do love that they're teaming up. I love how that's going. And then of course the end, which was shocking to me, but I'm okay with.
Wasn't shocking to me because we know that she is not in the series for the full season. We know that this is the final season. So really, I mean,
I didn't expect it.
Had I not known, I expected, you know, I'll be honest, when she first announced that she was only going to be in a portion of the season, I expected there to be a death. Like, only because I was like, that's kind of the most finite thing they could do.
Right.
And I immediately assumed that she would be in the first few episodes, not the remaining, which could have been a misstep on my own, because she could have just chosen to be in like 6 episodes sporadically. You know, like it didn't have to end with death. She could have just said, I'm only going to do 6, but how about I do episode 2, episode 8, you know, whatever. But so when she died, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense because it's kind of final. And I knew that it had something to do with the ionosphere, because she kept going and kept going and kept going. And we saw that it was impacting her in ways. And her friend kept being like, yeah, you need to stop that because this is not going to end well. And she kept being like, whatever, this is so fun, I'm living, just being the normal, reckless Jennifer that we see. But I am curious to see kind of what is going to happen now, because there is no body. I mean, Jennifer like evaporated into the universe and became a star almost. Like it kind of looks like, you know, like a little bit of. So, and he was on the phone with her. So I'm also like, well, how do you explain this to her parents? Like, you know, that you were on the phone when she evaporated. I don't want to sound insensitive, but that's kind of like what happened.
Yeah, she kind of supernovaed.
Yeah. And so, you know, sad end of an era, because I really liked China as
Jennifer
Lightning. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm like, oh my gosh. I really liked her in this role. It's just, I wish it could be different, because I was hoping that they would keep her character alive so that, you know, if this Painkiller spinoff gets picked up to series, you know, that she'd be a part of it. And also, you know, they keep teasing the Outsiders, and I kind of feel like we're heading in the direction where we may get, you know, either the Outsiders on this show, or we might get a spinoff, or maybe they would be a huge part of Painkiller. And I was hoping, I mean, we know just from a comic book aspects that Thunder is an outsider. And so, you know, kind of playing into that, I was hoping that we would see just a little bit of Lightning when she was ready, and if she was ready to ever come back and kind of step in those shoes. But yeah, seems like that's a no.
Yeah, I assumed that she would die. I thought it would be later. I thought it would be with her family. It felt almost like China's scenes were all separate from everybody. I feel like we only saw her with what's his name, who like talks to computers. I feel like we almost didn't see her with anyone in these 4 episodes. So it just feels, I think what was shocking was like her dad was trying to talk to her. She didn't open the door. She flew up and died. Like, that's sad.
Very sad. And we did see her a lot with her sister. So all of her scenes mostly though were with Anissa this season. I would say the majority of them. And it was mostly them teaming up against crime, them like even, you know, when the 3 of them teamed up in this episode. But yeah, it's interesting because she did not have one single scene with her mother, with Lynn, this episode. So that has to be harrowing, because I don't remember
where Jennifer was fighting and Lynn was there also.
No,
fighting.
I said this episode.
Oh, this episode. Yes.
This episode didn't have any, which is definitely going to be harrowing because she died. So it's like, you didn't see her at all that day, like essentially is what happened. And
yeah, it was unexpected.
Yeah, later for sure. I thought probably mid-season finale-ish, you know.
Yeah.
But
all right, let's rate this one. Where do you stand?
Yeah. For me, I actually think that this episode for me was a kitten, just because I actually liked the direction that we're going in. Like, oh, an apology. Oh, a solid plan with Tobias. Oh, you know, like Gamby's making kind of waves in this regard. You know, Grace is stepping into her own as a superhero. Oh, you know, so I'm liking the trajectory that we're going on. I still do wish that they would pick up the pace a bit more. And, you know, again, that kind of the same worry that I have for WandaVision's episode, which drops in 2 days, is the same kind of worry that I have for the series finale of Black Lightning, that we will get to the end and I'll be like, what was it all for from a series perspective? And so, yeah, I am hoping that they pick up the pace. So how did you feel about this episode? Where are you going to rate it? I think you're probably going to rate it a spoon, but tell me.
You're right. I'm giving it a spoon. Aside from the, to me, shocking death, and the Grace stuff, I would have given a poop. Like, I was not interested at all. I mean, Jefferson's still fighting for Lala. Like, what? what is this? What is this? So yeah, the death surprised me and interested me, and that kept me going. And the gray stuff is that's what moved it from poop to spoon. That's it.
Got it. So what are your predictions for next week?
I predict that Jefferson loses his mind because he's dealing with the grief of of losing his best friend, and now his daughter's dead. That's it.
Yeah, quite frankly, I feel like we're headed down a Wanda path here. Because the grief is going to, and it's not just going to be Jefferson. Anissa will have that kind of same thing, although I think because she has Grace to ground her, it may look a little bit different. Lynn and Jefferson are, just kind of getting back on the same page. And so this could actually pull them apart again. Lynn could go back to using a bit more heavily in her addiction. And, Jefferson, I think he's already been reckless. And I just feel like we could have a Wanda level situation in the sense that, the grief will overwhelm him and he will not know what to do because his children, even just throughout the story, which is something that really intrigued me, even in season 1, Lynn and Jeff have been legally married, but not together. Right. Mm-hmm. And so he's essentially been a single father because the girls were living with him. And, Len was doing her thing working and, obviously still had a great relationship with them. But seeing this kind of single father who these girls were his world and how much kids mean to him in general, just even being a principal and that, I don't think he's going to handle it well at all. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to be good. So here we are I
agree.
Oh, goodness. All right. So last but not least, let's talk about Batwoman. Here is the quick cap for the 6th episode, Do Not Resuscitate. So as Ryan's kryptonite wound worsens, it hinders her capabilities as Batwoman. And efforts to copy the Desert Rose Serum endanger Mary and Commander Kane. Meanwhile, Alice's reunion with someone from Koreana, it's that hottie Ocean, not someone, presents unexpected complications. They also did not say that in the quick cap, but I'm going to add it because Ocean is a hottie with a body and deserved to be named in that quick cap. So
I agree.
How did you feel overall about this week's Batwoman?
Like every week, I feel like I start with I don't care. And then I get to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm listening. So it was entertaining. I feel like I'm squeaking. I do like this season of Batwoman. I would say 100 times more than last season. It is by far the best version of Batwoman, and I am interested and invested in these characters in the storyline. I loved that Commander Kane now knows about Mary's clinic. I think that's interesting. I think him and her and their dynamic is now interesting and fun. I think they're still trying to force us to want Ryan and Sophie, and I don't. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this. What did you think?
I really need to see Ocean with his shirt off more. I'm just gonna be honest.
Not gonna disagree.
But beyond that, I mean, I think the episode was entertaining. I mean, it was clear from the moment that Ryan reunited with Ange that, they were gonna break up again. Clear. I've said my piece over and over again about Ryan and Sophie, and just from a Crow's, kind of legal to, criminal, because Ryan's actually not a criminal though. But I'm going to put that in quotes.
Convicted person.
She's convicted. But that's a slippery slope, but y'all know how I feel about Black queer love. And so here we are. But Sophie asking Ryan to do that was terrible. I do feel like to set up Ange, and she knew what the fallout and what the outcome would be. I'm just hoping it's not one of those situations. She's like, girl, I'll help you pick up the pieces. Like, no, please do not swoop in, Sophie. We do not need that. But Ange definitely had to go. I mean, I just think it's just reckless in general for a Batwoman to be dating Ange, who is clearly into some crazy things. And so, Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of what's going to happen next. Obviously, I don't think this is the last we've seen of Ange, because Ange has her hands in a lot of the work that's being done in Gotham. So we will definitely see her again, but this definitely puts them on opposite sides for sure now. And so, I not to jump ahead to predictions, but I think that Ange may die. Something may happen with Ange kind of as everything unfolds. Particularly with this new drug that's on the streets. The Desert Rose, which is like the cure-all to cure everything. The flower is interesting, but y'all, I'm tired of this painting and, setting the painting on fire to find a map. And, I'm just like, I know y'all want Kate alive. And again, not to get ahead of predictions, but I do still believe that, Kate will probably be in one more episode. Just to kind of wrap that up. But the Desert Rose, we know, is the only thing that can cure Ryan. So we know we're going to see it again. We know someone's going to create a serum. We know that Ryan's not going to die. And we know that this kryptonite wound is literally eating her alive. I mean, it's a mess. So we got to get this Desert Rose. And, hopefully when we get it, Ocean will take his shirt off. That's mostly where I'm at.
I think, I'm with you on all that. All of it sounds accurate. But the whole Alice killing a fake Ocean.
Right.
I was like, are we still doing this weird face mask thing that she created? Like, are we still doing that? It's weird. And it actually doesn't make sense. Like scientifically, I just can't buy that you can make a face.
Listen, so technically face transplants do exist. Whatever Alice is doing,
is not
I don't know. But all I know is that I'm just curious to see going forward how Commander Kane plays into all of this. Because as we know, he knows about Mary's clinic. He doesn't know that Mary works with Batwoman. And quite frankly, right now, that means he doesn't know that Alice works with Batwoman and Mary and Sophie by default, and literally everyone. Including Lucas, which I love that she called him Lucas this episode to get his attention and let her know she was in trouble. But I'm like, when is all this going to come to a head? Because he's really the only one in the dark, because all of us have been playing in the sand behind your back. And so literally it's like, what's going to happen when you have to face Alice again, who is still your daughter?
I loved the phone call. It's one of my favorite stupid tropes is like giving code in a phone call. And when she was like a bat out of hell, and I was like, and they were like, what is she saying? I was like, how could that have been less clear?
A bat signal, in fact, one might say, it's like, come on. And also it's find it odd that Commander Kane didn't say more, and he wasn't like, you called Lucas and Batwoman showed up.
Right.
You didn't think about that at all.
Yeah.
But here we are. All right. So how are you going to rate this episode?
I enjoyed it. I'm giving it a kitten. I mean, it's a kitten very close to a spoon, but it's a kitten. What about you?
I love the parameters this week. For me, it was a spoon. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't terrible at all by any means. I definitely enjoyed it. But a lot of it was pretty predictable, actually. A lot of it, I was like, oh, yeah. So I'm hoping, next episode, we find that Desert Rose so our girl Ryan can heal, which we know is not going to be that easy, but we need her to heal. And two, I want to see some more drama with her and Ange, honestly, because I just know their lifestyles are going to conflict and come to a head in a very, very large way. So I want to see more of that so I can give it more kittens. But it's definitely mine, to, as Yael says, is a spoon leaning very close to a kitten, I should say.
Honestly, this whole week has been very spoony. A lot of spoony episodes. But let's do our favorite segments. Who would you? I think we're on the same page for Performer of the Week this week.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go for me, Elizabeth Olsen. I mean, I just think being able to carry the weight and the trauma and of all things Wanda, heavy thing to do as an actor. I think that Elizabeth did very well. What about you?
Agreed, 100%. We're on the same page. I think we're on the same page actually for all of these.
Yeah.
style icon of the week, Grace suited up.
Yeah. Really odd how Grace is, I mean, and I know that Grace is a shapeshifter. So I know that she can literally do anything. So it was really interesting that once she had the suit on, then all of a sudden she had red hair. I don't know if you saw like in the fight scene, but it was like bright red hair. And I was like, ooh, okay. But yeah, I just felt like everyone else was like in regular clothes, and half the time Mary was, being kidnapped. And so I felt like it wasn't about the style this week. But Grace did come with it and, decided she was going to go by the name Wild. And so I was like, okay, look at Wild. So yeah, I'm into it, on the same page.
Yeah.
So what about you for the OMG moment of the week?
Lightning exploded.
Evaporated supernova. I mean, I guess technically the OMG moment would be the same for me. Like it would be lightning, but it would also be Nash Wells, because they both essentially did the same thing. And
yeah, that's a good point. All right, great.
They both did the same.
Yeah, I think that is it. Woo, a lot of shows.
Woo, and RIP to them both. So Yael, where can everyone find you this week? What are you up to?
Oh, great question. I'm everywhere on the internet at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. I have a brand new show coming out on Friday over on that hashtag show. It is called Have You Tried Not Being a Podcast? And it is a queer pop culture series. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. I will be promoting it on all my socials and my Twitch channel, which again, twitch.tv/Yael Tygiel. Kay-B, where are you these days? What are you doing?
Man, you can always find me at the Lady Kay-B, TheLadyKayB, on Instagram and Twitter. And when I am not tweeting thirst trap photos of Lenny Kravitz, I am posting lots of different content. And so, you will likely be a new episode of the Color Grade podcast. South by Southwest is coming up. We are prepping for that. I do have a couple of articles out right now. So, you can check out my interview with Tracy Morgan about coming to America. And also I had a delightful chat with the leads of the new Netflix movie Moxie, directed by Amy Poehler. So I got to talk to Hadley Robinson and Pascal Pena, and delight. I've spoken with Alicia before for Saved by the Bell. She is awesome. So awesome. This is my first time chatting with Hadley, an incredible talent as well. And so you can check out our chat as well. So you can either go to my YouTube channel through the lens of Lady Kay-B and check all those out, or you can go to The Beat, Nerdophiles, wherever you want to. I mean, honestly, maybe just type in my name and you might see some things. So, and also tomorrow, my interview with Jermaine Fowler, who is the newest heir and star of Coming to America, will be out. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on Fanversation and check out the trailer for Thunder Force, because I'm very excited about it. All right. Bye.
Bye.